My name is Dan Dorval, and I'm President and CEO of Dorval and Cherney Financial Advisors. I am an independent certified financial planner and author of my book, Financial Success for the Rest of Us, Reality-Based Financial Planning for Mainstream America.
Hi, my name is Leah Woodley. I'm an associate financial advisor with Dorval and Cherney Financial Advisors. Our conversations discuss what it means to do quality of life planning in all areas of your life.
Dan, we're going to revisit the investment vehicles chapter of your book, and today we're going to focus on vehicles for education. So, college costs are insane these days. Why is saving for it so much more complicated than just using a regular savings account?
Well, yeah, the first thing is there are multiple ways you can save for education. The second thing is a lot of people are not on the same page for how they want to save or what they want to provide their children. And then the third thing is this uncertainty about, well, what are my kids going to do anyway? Are they going to go to
Mhm.
college? Maybe they'll go to a trade school, maybe they'll do something else. And then I want as much flexibility as possible, but a lot of the education savings accounts that are preferenced, like a 529 that has tax preferences, all of a sudden I go, well, I don't really like the restrictions on it.
Mhm.
And so it makes it a little more complicated to balance out the idea of flexibility with the idea of getting all of the potential benefits that are available from these different investment vehicles.
Now, you brought up the 529. Everyone talks about it as if it's the golden ticket. Are 529s actually the best option for most families?
Well, 529s, as many of our viewers probably know, it's a federal program, but it's administered by every state. So every
Mhm.
state has at least one of their own 529 programs. Some of those states have tax advantages associated with them, or they encourage you to use their program. Other states do not. So you have to really check with your state from that part of it. But as far as saving into a 529, the first and most important thing is you have to balance out quality of life across all of your goals. Most of the people we help don't have unlimited resources. And so, yes, they might want to provide for their kids' education, but if that means pushing off retirement, if that means maybe not being able to take a family vacation or whatever else that might bring you quality of life, we got to be careful that you're balancing out your resources across all of these different goals. And education is a touchy one where it's nice to get things started, and you
Mhm.
certainly can start small. You can always increase over time. But a lot of times, what people do is they procrastinate, they put this on the back burner, they don't start saving until their kids get older. And now
Mhm.
their time frame for the ability to accumulate money is shortened. And the big advantage of a 529 is tax-free growth if it's used for qualified educational expenses. Well, if my time is short, I'm not going to get a whole lot of growth anyway. So the
Mhm.
529 becomes much less powerful the older your kids are.
Got it. Now, a lot of people also think that 529s mostly benefit wealthy people. Can you explain why that train of thought is there? Is there
Well,
a difference between income levels?
a lot of wealth managers, people who
Hmm.
work with the very wealthiest,
Hmm.
they will promote this not only as a means to save for education, and a lot of times this might be grandparents saving for their grandchildren rather than
Hmm.
parents saving for their kids.
Hmm.
And these wealthy grandparents, it'll be part of their estate planning. So I
Hmm.
can transfer very large sums of money through a 529 investment vehicle to maybe my grandchildren or my children. And now I've got it out of my estate for the purposes of eventual estate taxes for the very wealthy. And so the limits are really high and can accommodate a lot of different planning goals. And that benefits the wealthiest among us. Now, at the same time, the idea was to put away money maybe consistently. So parents being able to put away consistently $100 a month or whatever it is. If you can do that for 18 years, you can accumulate a very sizable amount of money to help your kids. It's just those wealthy people can put in tens of thousands of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars in a tax preferenced way that
Hmm.
is not attainable for the average household.
Got it. Now, one thing that may surprise readers of your book is that you say a Roth IRA retirement account can actually be a smart way to save for college. Tell me about how that works.
So most of the people we help, as I said, don't have unlimited resources. They're trying to
Mhm,
balance things out. And we call the Roth IRA kind of the Swiss Army knife of investment vehicles
mhm,
because I can save into that Roth. It will grow tax deferred.
mhm,
Now I can think in terms of how am I going to use this money? First off, if I really had a bad emergency and I needed that money for something for myself, I can take my contributions out at any time, no tax, no penalty for any reason. So it helps my family if I suffer through something where, I don't want to take the money out, but maybe I have to take the money out. So it can
mhm,
work in that regard. Then education comes and I might look at, okay, now my son or daughter is going to go off to college. I want to help them some, but I need to balance that out maybe with retirement savings.
mhm,
Again, I could take some of my contributions, not the growth, and I could
mhm,
use those contributions tax free and penalty free to help them with school. Now, of course, that means that money is not available for other goals, including retirement. So, this is a balancing act. I can't just think in terms of this money being able to be used for multiple things, but I can use it over here, accomplish some of these goals. Now I leave the growth in there, and then eventually I use it for my own retirement 100% tax free as well. So it's much more flexible in regards to lots of different potential uses compared to a 401k is for retirement. Even your conventional savings is now being taxed. It might be flexible, but it's being taxed along the way. So the Roth really accomplishes a lot of things at the same time.
Yes, it's definitely a powerful investment vehicle to provide that flexibility. Now, you lived through education financing yourself. How did it actually turn out? You have two kids that have completed college now. How did it actually turn out from when you planned it out to the reality of it? Were there any surprises?
When the kids were babies and we set up their 529s, and we actually, by the way, just so you know, we set up they were called Coverdell Education Savings Accounts, or
Mm-hmm.
ESAs, back when we first started. And the limit back then was $2,000 per child per year that we could put in. That's actually what we set up originally. And then
Mm-hmm.
eventually 529s came around and they were a more powerful investment vehicle for education. We eventually switched over from the Coverdell Education Savings Accounts over to 529s. And so then we could put in more money over time. And we just systematically invested over time. If I had extra money, I might put a chunk in periodically. If the kids got maybe gifts or something from grandpa and grandma, we could put some of that money into that 529. And then eventually we stopped contributing and we just allowed growth to
Mm-hmm.
provide the engine behind those 529s. So starting early was
Mm-hmm.
very powerful. Now our kids both decided to go to public schools, which we didn't know at the time. We didn't know if they were
Mm-hmm.
going to go to college when they were
Right.
first born, but we had a goal that we wanted to certainly be able to help them, and we wanted to help them in a significant way. So our original goal was 4 years of education at some sort of public school, and we happened to use the University of Minnesota as our model
Mm-hmm.
for what that might cost. Now, one went to the University of Wisconsin, one went to the University of South Carolina, and so the costs were in line with what the
Mm-hmm.
University of Minnesota would have been. Now, what
Okay, cool.
actually happened is our kids went to a high school it was very college preparatory focused. It was a charter school that allowed them to get a lot of college credits while they were on campus. And so when they went to college, they had a lot of credits to use. And one graduated with a 4 year degree, graduated in 3 years. The other one actually graduated in 2.5 years. So we
Mm-hmm.
had saved enough to provide for four. We only had a shortened time period. So it was very simple and very easy for us to take that 529. The registrar's office would give us an invoice, whether that was tuition, room and board, fees, books, whatever it happened to be. And then I could just direct a payment directly from the 529 to the registrar's office. You usually just need the student ID, you need the amount, and then
Mm-hmm.
where to send it. That gets sent directly to the college, and then it worked fantastic. We never had any problems with logistical issues or anything like that. And then when they moved off campus and started to rent, there is an allowance that is set up for most universities where they will just give you, like, you don't have to keep track of all the bills. They'll
Mhm.
give you a set allowance number that's kind of comparable to what living on campus would be. And I could take that 529 money out, actually reimburse it to us. We were then paying for whatever rent or other things that came up along the way. And that's how we reimbursed ourselves directly from the 529. So we used both payments that went directly to the institution. We also used payments that came to us. And then we just tracked that. And we have a file folder where we kept those payments aligned with what the expenses were. So it worked incredibly well.
Wow, that's excellent and that's reassuring to hear. So, is there any last things that you would like to share with our audience?
Well, you have younger kids. And
Yes.
so what are you doing in thinking about, especially, you've got a newborn as well now. So what are you thinking about in terms of helping them with school?
Yes, so we would like to help them with their undergraduate career, their undergraduate education as well. We've been contributing to the 529 since they were, I would say, probably 6 weeks old with my daughter, the newborn. That process was even quicker than with my boys. So we started her very early as well. So that's the plan to just contribute to the 529s. We do have money in the Roth app as well. So if we need to tap into that, we can do that as well. But yeah, that's what we're hoping for. My oldest son is going to high school next year, and he will have the opportunity to take college courses as well in his junior and senior year. So hopefully he can get some credits as well. I always think about you when I think about that program at his high school. So hopefully that works out for us as well.
Well, and we saved in the Roth thinking that we would have to use some of the Roth for education, and then our 529s performed so well that we had more than enough money because they didn't go for 4 years. So
Mhm.
then that Roth just stayed in the Roth account and allowed us to be able to use that for retirement eventually. Now, are you using the Maryland plan or are you using a different 529?
Yes, I am using the Maryland plan. For our viewers, you do not have to use your state's plan, but I am using Maryland's plan.
Do you get a benefit from that?
Yes. And in Maryland, this is not the same for all states, but in Maryland, you do have to use their plan in order to get the tax benefit. I know for you in Minnesota, that is not the case. You can use other 529 plans to get the tax benefit. So definitely, if you're watching this, check with your state to see how your state works when it comes to the 529 benefits.
Yeah, we don't actually like the Minnesota plan. We don't
Mhm,
particularly care for the investment manager that they selected for the Minnesota plan. But
mhm,
thankfully, in Minnesota, you can use a 529 from any state out there, and the
mhm.
contributions, you can get a very modest tax break associated with your state income taxes, and it doesn't matter which 529 you use. So if you're watching this and you're from Minnesota, probably shouldn't use the Minnesota plan, but it's better than nothing, of course, as far
Right.
as using a plan.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for sharing. And until next time, have a great one.
Thanks, Leah.
Thank you.